Keith said was that, yeah, it can be producing new ideas, novel way, compelling, okay, or something that is very compelling. So it should, it should find a need. Others should be able to relate. Others should be able to understand what is in it for them also. When you're talking about creativity at a larger level, at a global level, and things like that. Okay, and it can be. It has some domain specific and some domain general elements. Okay, it is measurable to a certain extent, and it can be developed and promoted. Very important that you can develop creativity. You can promote creativity. You're not born a creative person. It can also be developed. Okay, and we said that it's not highly rewarded in practice, as compared to theory. You may be applauded, you may be given this thing, but then when it comes to being rewarded, especially in terms of monetary terms, it might take more time, right? And Ritika said, no, now we have social media platform and all that, so it's easier for creative people to showcase their talent and get probably instant gratification or whatever, rewarded for it, sooner than it used to be.
No,
Sorry.
what you were saying was right. What you were saying was right, because even if we see a person has a creative idea, it takes time to monetize it. A very good example could be the startups, wherein they
Right,
try
right.
to monetize spending money.
Correct. Very
Yeah.
true. Very true. Yeah. So, but at the same time, you're getting more exposure now. You're getting in more instant recognition compared to earlier. Okay. So everybody talked about similar thing. It should be new. It should be useful. Okay. This is very interesting. It said the creativity is just extraordinary results of ordinary processes. Okay. So that is Smith, Ward, and Fink said. Okay. Then process of creativity, we saw it has 4 characteristics. It should be imaginative, it should be original, it should be purposeful. Okay, it has to lead to certain goal, it has to lead to certain end product. When you're talking about creativity, you're not just randomly doing something, it needs to lead to something. Okay, and yeah, and the good part is that generation of ideas happens and evaluation. That's very interesting, that the person who's creative, it has more his intrapersonal judgment about his piece of creation. That is very important, right? So he has to first be convinced, he has to juggle, he has to judge, he has to evaluate his idea or product or whatever he has made. It's very important that he should be convinced that it is, convincing others comes later, but first it is more a intrapersonal or intra this thing judgment of that creativity. Okay, and then yeah, next is 2 types. We saw the little c and the big C. Little c are little creative things that you do, maybe with food, painting, and things like that. Okay, which is very personal, which gives you joy and happiness. But the big C are the eminent ones, like something at a much more larger scale. Like I was saying, maybe uh, conventional solar energy and things like that. So that is the big C, the big creativity. Okay, then we are talking about, yeah, this was nice, investment and confluence theory of creativity. So it talked about all these 6 components that should be there when you're talking about creativity: intellectual ability, knowledge, style of thinking, personality, motivation, and environment. So all these 6 things have to be in place. We saw that if your environment is negative, you may not be motivated. Even if you're motivated, if you have a certain type of personality, then again creativity gets a little hampered. So all these 6 elements are equally important, right? So today we will look at, and if any statistician is here, okay, Praveen or something, later on I may require a little help. So now coming to aspects of creativity. Okay, so Guilford considered creative thinking as involving divergent thinking. Okay, divergent thinking means that one problem has several solutions. Okay, so Guilford said that yes, it is divergent thinking, and but it also has certain other elements. Okay, when you're talking about the aspects of creativity, okay, it is not just different solutions to a problem, but it is more, creativity is more than that. So that way it differs from divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is just different solutions to a problem, but creativity is also a lot of other things. Okay, so it's not the same as divergent thinking, because creativity requires sensitivity to problems, as well as redefinition of abilities, transformation of thoughts, reinterpretation, freedom from functional fixedness in driving unique solutions. So it's a lot more. It talks about how you have to be more, more sensitivity is required towards the problem. You have to keep redefining the problem. You have to also come up with the more, you should be more open, and you should come out with unique solutions, right? So according to Guilford, he talks about a test. Okay, it's called TTCT. Okay, Guilford Torrance test of creative thinking. He says that the creativity test, we said creativity is measurable to some extent. So this is one of the tests which he has, according to him, these elements should be there in that test. Okay. So he talks about this TTCT test, like I told you, Torrance test of creative thinking. Okay. And it kept on going through revisions and things like that. So 1966 and 1974. Okay. All these things actually talk about 6 components of creativity, right? So the first component that he talks about is fluency. Okay. So he says that the creativity, the whole idea of whatever creative product of idea you come up with, it should, the number of relevant ideas shows an ability to produce a number of figural images. Okay, so I think what this probably means is that there should be a number of relevant ideas. Okay, when you talk about, so the test should actually contain, the creativity test should not test only on, one idea. I think it should have many related and relevant ideas to test the creativity. Okay, if anybody wants to add, please add, because these are just one liners written. This is my interpretation. So if anybody has any examples or something to add, please let me know. So it should have a large number of ideas. Okay, that it should test large number of creative ideas, not just stick to 1 or 2 main ideas. Okay, flexibility. Okay, again, it should test, this particular test of creativity should test the flexibility. Okay, not only a large number of responses, ideas, or solutions to a problem, but also a variety of responses, ideas, solution to a problem. Okay, so it says that the test should test, okay, a large number or a variety of responses or ideas or solutions. It should not be restricted that, okay, this person is creative only if he comes up with these solutions. It could be a combination of different ideas or solutions, right? So that is the next one, flexibility. Third one is originality. You have to test the originality. Okay, number of statistically infrequent ideas. So it produces uncommon or unique responses. So this test should also, one of the components of the test is that it should also test the originality. There should not be just one right answer or one right solution. It should open up, unique ideas or unique solutions also from the person who is, giving this test. Then next is elaboration. Number of added ideas demonstrate the subject's ability to develop and elaborate on ideas. It should be such, the test should be such that the person who is taking this, creative test should be able to elaborate in his own ways, in his own words, his own way of explanation, to when he's giving the test. So he should be able to elaborate in his own style and way, right? Abstraction of titles. Okay, so it should also have margin. This test, this creativity test should also have should be able to allow the person to have abstraction of thought. Okay, it measures the degree of title moves beyond concrete labeling to picture drawings. Yeah, so basically it should also, I think, test your your abstract thinking, not just defined way of thinking, right? Resistance to premature closure. Yeah, the test should be such that it should be very open, and it requires a person to consider a variety of information when processing information, keep an open mind. So this is what the test should primarily contain, these 6 components. So it should test very holistically a person's creativity in terms of his flexibility, openness, how he's able to elaborate an idea, how he's able to talk about a creative or abstract idea, Okay, how different solutions and unique solutions should come out of those. So those are the kind of tests. Now, I don't know if any one of you has seen any of these tests, but if I am not wrong, if I recall seeing a test like that, it is a creativity test is not your MCQ or choose the right answer kind of a thing. I think it is more of a question, maybe draw something, or maybe write a story if it is somebody younger. So I think it has those kind of elements. So
You
has
mean a
any
combination of open-ended questions and a performance?
Yes, a lot of open-ended questions, because that is what tests the true creativity of a person. So it is not like Saundarya said, it's not closed-ended questions. It's not true or false or match or do this. I think it's a lot of create a story or do something which is imaginative or something like that. So it's got a lot of open-ended questions. That is how your true test of creativity comes about. So that's about Guilford Torrent test of creative thinking. Okay, now this is very interesting, stages of creativity. Okay, now if you all also recall and you can pitch in your examples for this. So stages of creativity, with Graham Wallace, okay, who suggested that creative thinking follows these four successive steps. Okay, so anytime you are thinking of a creative idea or anything that is creative, so what it goes through these four stages, primary stages. The first one is the stage of preparation. Okay, so when a new idea, a new thought comes into your mind, you prepare for it. That is the first step. So in preparation, you think about the problem, you think about all possible solutions to that problem, you collect a lot of information. There's a lot of trial and error which you come across. Then you try to learn as much as possible about that problem. Okay, you recall personal experiences, you read a lot, you do a lot of research. So this is all about preparing. When it's the first stage of preparation. So you're actually preparing to create something new, something unique, right? So this includes all of this, the largest possible list. And don't even worry if you're getting a redundant list. If you've already looked for an information somewhere else and you feel something, whatever you can get to prepare for that creative idea, you get it all together. So that is the first stage, where and you also try to establish the relationship between whatever you have found so far. So that is the first stage of preparation, when it comes to a creative thought, idea, product, or whatever. Okay, the second stage is very, very interesting, and I think all of you would also have experienced this, right? So second is the stage of incubation. Now, in a stage of incubation, what happens is you are not making a conscious effort to think about that problem or think about that idea. So because what happens is sometimes when you are too much into the subject, your thought process, your creativity stops. So this is the stage when you just either distract yourself by doing something else. For example, if you're working, especially with PhD students, they say that, I mean, so much they get into the whole thing when you're doing research and all that, and after a point you are not able to look at it from a new perspective. So better thing to do at that time is to just take a break from that particular thing that you're working on, that particular creativity, or whether it's a piece of art or whatever it is. You stop working on that and you start getting doing other things, maybe a hobby, maybe sleep over it, do something else totally different, and not really consciously think about what you're working on. So that is a really, really important phase, because a lot of times you must have noticed that you're thinking about it the whole day, you're racking your brain about some problem, and you just sleep over it. Next day morning, like a bulb, it just gets lit. So that is the stage of incubation. So in this stage of incubation, you're getting a little, the idea, the whole solution is not very clear to you. Okay, and you just stop intentionally working on that idea, right? And you just, it is somewhere there in your unconscious or subconscious mind, or whatever you can say, and the solution is existing something, but you're not able to see clarity. You know that this has, the end result is going to be this, but that clarity is not coming about, right? So you just keep it somewhere in the back burner. You just let it, simmer somewhere else, but you don't focus on the problem or the creation. Okay. So you just, you just relax and reflect on the focus question, which might lead him to modification of focal question. So basically, yeah, you just stop thinking about it too much, right? So that is the next stage. So first stage was consciously making all sorts of preparation to make something, or to produce something creative. Second is the stage of incubation, when you just stop because you've had so much of overload of that you just stop and give it a pause, and you do something else to distract yourself, or just don't consciously think of it. The third one is the stage of illumination. Okay, illumination, like a bright spot, like a halo or an idea or something. Suddenly you start getting an insight into that, right? So this is a sudden experience of insight into the problem, okay, with a new solution. So thak say, you are like, out of nowhere, you're doing something. For example, you're creating something, and you're like, no, yeah, I just stopped doing this, I'll get into cooking. So cooking, and from nowhere a new idea, a new insight comes, right? Same thing is if you just give it a gap of 1 or 2 days, and out of the blue you get an idea, oh, why didn't I think of it this way? So this is that stage of illumination, when suddenly one light bulb shines somewhere. Okay, so again, here we are talking about creativity and different stages of creativity. So here now we are more conscious of the solution, right? He she attempts to reformulate his ideas or formulate new ones. Okay, so that is why this is very important. Now, giving an example of counseling, when people come to us for counseling, so we speak to them, and we do one counseling session. Then what we do is we give them a little homework to work on. Okay, suppose you call the person for counseling the next day, you know they will keep thinking about that problem, and they won't get an insight, they won't get their own solutions out of it. So what we do is we give a gap of 1 week. We say, okay, today you've come on a Monday, come next Monday, and these are the 2-3 things you think about and come. So while they're thinking about that homework and what they will speak to the counselor the next time they meet, you know it is a 1 week gap. In that, they get a lot of insights. They start looking at things in a very different way, because that gap, that incubation, gives that thing to introspect. So that introspection is very important. So similarly, in a creative idea, you have this thing. Oh, okay, you take a break and then you think of something new altogether, or a totally new solution to that problem, right? Which you were not thought of so far.
Yeah,
So that is
movie
the third.
directors are one of the best examples.
Which one?
Movie directors.
Yeah, correct. Or writers also, they call it the
Yeah.
writer's block, right? Suddenly they
Yeah.
just go blank, they can't think, and then they just take a break, they go to some back of beyond, or they just go for a holiday, something like that. And suddenly that, bright idea comes back in a totally new avatar. So that is, that's why creative people are, sometimes they are supposed to be, in their own world or whatever it is. So this is the third stage. Okay. Now the fourth one is stage of verification. Finally, the subject tries and checks the solution. Now that you found an insight, a new solution, now you're doing verifications. If there is some modification required, some addition required to that, to the new solution, so all that happens. So you check the solution. Okay, you do the interrelationship connection between different things, you start grouping your ideas, you start adding, subtracting, changing the concept. So this is the stage where you do the verification. Okay, this is the objective, this was my end goal, have I achieved it? Oh, so now that you've got a new insight into the solution, you can start modifying it and come up with a concrete thing. This is where I think that intrapersonal thing, the judgment, is there a better way of doing it? So this is that stage when you're contemplating, if I've done is there a better way to create this, or a better solution to work upon. So this is that last stage of verification. So these are the 4 stages of creativity. Okay, you prepare for it, you take a break, you get an insight, and finally you do all the verifications and evaluations, whether you have come up with the right solution or the right output. So these are the different stages of creativity. I think the creative people in the group can give real life examples from their this thing. So that's how it happens. Okay. Now, it's also possible that you may not go through all the 4 stages. When you're talking about creativity, it's, not that all the 4 stages of creativity are, you can have a combination of 2. You can also completely skip the first stage. You may not really go about preparing so much because you already know what you have in mind, right? So you will probably just skip the stage of preparedness. You will not go ahead and prepare that much. So, or it may come together. You're not preparing for it, or you're preparing for it, and then there is this, you're like, okay, let me give it a break, and then suddenly, so it may happen parallelly, it may happen up and down, but these are generally the 4 stages of creativity, right?
Like coincidentally, you happen to meet a person who gives an opportunity to work in one of the projects, and you already have an idea to execute.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Correct. Very, very.
You are mute, Seema.
Seema, you're muted.
Seema.
The subject's knowledge of the problem area allows him to pass over the first stage and move to the next stage, even to the third stage. Yeah, you may straight away go into the third stage itself. You may suddenly get an insight and work on it, right? So that is about it. So anybody has any examples to give here? Ritika, do you also get the, sometimes
I
get
think once, like when we talk about creativity, when we're talking about preparation, most of the time preparation is one time. So if someone is a writer, so they already have a base of, general knowledge they already have. And then
Yeah.
creative blocks are something which is very common, even even for normal people also. Illumination is also very common, especially I think the best example for this is finding a key. When you want it, you never find it. And suddenly you know where it is.
Correct. Very true. A lot of times it happens, and especially if you keep something very carefully. You've kept some gold earring somewhere very carefully inside, and then you forget about it. You're like, and you start panicking, looking for it. You don't find it. You keep looking, and finally you just give up. Next day morning, thak, arre, I kept it under that particular place.
This
So
is
that
what
happens.
creativity is. We gave the best examples right now, Seema.
What's that?
We gave the best example of incubation and illumination.
Very true, very true. And it happens all the time. I mean, yeah, Praharsh also was adding something about his banana chips, I think.
And
I've been incubating for 2 years about one item which I kept very carefully somewhere.
Okay. It's not reached the next stage.
Your incubation is taking, no, not incubation. Your illumination is taking so long, Sunita.
I know. Sad.
That light bulb is not glowing. The same thing, today we are not going to do problem solving, but I was just reading. So, there is this chimpanzee experiment there where, this chimpanzee is put in a cage, right?
Okay.
And who is that? I'm forgetting the name of the psychologist. The problem solving one has one. So anyway, so in that chimpanzee, what they do is they hang the bananas on the top, okay, on the ceiling of that cage, and they have put 3 boxes there, okay. And normally, how would we do if we want a banana? I'm very hungry, I want the banana, I'll put one on top of the other, the boxes climb onto it. But the chimpanzee doesn't know that. So he's got 3 boxes in his cage. He's got that banana, and he's getting totally restless. He tries to jump and get the bananas from there. That's not happening. So then I don't know. He just keeps on moving here and there, all furious. Okay, and then he's like, okay, what is this box lying there? He'll put the box. He'll get on top of the first box, try to jump and fall off, and get more irritated, and go and get very all upset. Then he will just stop working on that. He will do something else. He'll look outside the cage and things like that. Then somewhere down the line, there'll be a tuck inside. Okay. I don't know how the chimpanzee gets an idea. He'll put all the boxes one on top of the other, climb it, and get the banana. So this is, also problem solving. When we talking about problem solving, also we do something very, it's done by a very famous psychologist.
Kohler.
Correct. Kohler's experiment, the chimpanzee experiment, right? So yeah. So he does that. So that is also problem solving. I think creativity also is something like that. So you get a block in between and then you restart. So that is creativity. Okay. Now stages of creativity. Now we'll see creativity and intelligence. In one extreme opinion, creativity and intelligence are regarded as totally independent of one another. Intelligence is not supposed to influence creativity. So here, different people have different perspectives, different psychologists have different things to say. But what they are saying is, some of them think that just being intelligent doesn't make you creative. So there are a lot of people, children in the class whose IQ is above 140 and all. That doesn't necessarily make them creative. But on the other hand, to be creative, you need a certain bare minimum, intelligence level. So that is also another opinion, right? So these are different.
No, I kind of disagree. There are few cases, of course, it's one in a lakh or
That these are all the different views. We may not agree, because we've seen so many times when somebody has, let's say, autism, or even cerebral palsy or things like that. They do something, they remember numbers, they remember, there's something that they do which is something that any normal person cannot do. So these are what I mean, these are the different researchers, what they have said. And yeah, Saundarya, you were adding an example.
Yeah, on the same lines. I was just telling, they might not score or they might not be intelligent, but they will have a specific intelligence in one of those, multiple intelligences of Gardner. They might be intelligent only in that aspect, in which they prove to be creative.
Correct. Very true. That's true. You find it all the day. You're very amused sometimes. You have so many of these videos where you see that they don't have hands, but suddenly with their leg, somebody will start. So these are all experiments and research which has been done over a period of time. These are some of the views. The first one is that no, they are not related at all. Second one is that you need to be intelligent to be creative. Okay, so some more views are here. So creativity is viewed as a mental operation accessible to everyone. Okay, then we also read that creativity is something that can be developed, which means anybody can be creative. Or is it like that? Can everybody be creative? So again, these are some of the things which is creativity versus intelligence. These are things to ponder about, and a lot of research has gone into this. Okay, then the next one is that it is supposedly dependent on domain specific knowledge. That is the amount of exposure and expertise which is given in a particular field. Okay, and a lot of practice. So if you have an expertise in one particular field, especially if you look at people who carve stuff and things like that, so they get a lot of practice and a lot of expertise in that area, and that is why they are more creative than the others. So is it also that creativity is persistently working on something, and with a lot of years of experience? So is it how creativity is developed? Okay, so this is another thing. Yeah, somebody was saying something. No. Okay, so that is that. And then this position denies not only the influence of intelligence, but of any individual difference beyond knowledge and motivation factors on creativity. Few people think it is related to some, and some do not. See, again, here we have seen that creativity depends on individual differences. Okay, from person to person. It's not that you have a class full of, or you have a group of people and you're teaching them something creative, or you're teaching and everybody gets it the same way, or everybody is equally creative. Again, it depends on individual differences based on a lot of other factors like motivation, environment, and things like that. So that is also another view of creativity. And then a high IQ has proven as insufficient for creativity. So no, one of the views is that no, higher the IQ doesn't mean you're more creative. Okay, so Terman, for example, ever since Terman's famous longitudinal study of creativity, I think in 1528, highly gifted children when had a mean IQ of 151, while most of these children achieved remarkable occupational success in later life, none of them showed a noteworthy sign of creativity. So here he has done an experiment through another experiment, he has proved that the students whose mean IQ is 150 and above, okay, they have been extremely successful in life later, but none of them have been creative. Okay, so they're doing probably corporate jobs or government jobs or whatever it is. They're doing remarkably well, but they're not necessarily creative, right? So IQ, he has proved, is not an indicator. Even an IQ of 150 and above is not an indicator of creativity. So most of the studies concern the association between psychometric intelligence and creativity yielded only a weak relationship. So when you're talking about psychometric test, intelligence and creativity, it is not a very strong relationship. Okay. So for example, Torrance reported that the median of 178 correlation coefficient between IQ and TTCT was only 0.20. I don't know, somebody can interpret this and tell me, but what we can understand is that, yeah, it is the coefficient of this thing is only 0.20 between, this relationship that we are talking about, intelligence and creativity. Anybody wants to throw a light on this? Is anybody around?
I'm
Actually,
get the bulb.
Okay.
No idea. Totally blank.
Rate of incubation.
The statisticians of the group. But anyway, what we've come to know that, yeah, it is not really related. Okay, so factor analysis of IQ and creative. This is where I said I need Praveen or somebody to pitch in. Factor analysis of IQ and creativity
Sorry,
test.
I missed that piece. What was it? I can probably try to help. What was that?
Yeah, see, he's not even listening.
Very
So, yeah, Torrance reported that the median of 178 correlation coefficient between IQ and TTCT was only 0.20.
Okay, that is 0.
Huh. So
what it means is, I can probably, so correlation coefficient equal to 0 means there is no correlation at all. So 0.02 means it is like they are not correlated at all.
Correct.
That is exactly what it means.
Correct.
So,
So that means, yeah, hence prove that according to this thing, that intelligence and creativity do not have any correlation or have minimal correlation, right? That's what.
Praveen, for a correlation to exist, does it have to be 0?
No. Correlation to exist, it has to be either 1 or -1. So 1 or -1 means extremely correlated. 0 means they are not correlated at all. So the lesser the correlation coefficient is, it doesn't have any correlation. I mean, it can be negative. Even if it is negative, they are correlated. But 0 means there is no correlation.
Does it have to last between 1 and -1 or just 1 and -1?
No. It can be anywhere between -1 to 1, and closer to 1 means it is more and more correlated. So for example, if it is 0.7, that means it is sufficiently correlated. So if it is 0.3, then it has got very less correlation.
Okay.
So it can be even -0.3. Even then you are saying less correlated, but -0.7 is more correlated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and Soundria, how it happens is, if it's minus, that means when one value goes up, in this case, intelligence goes up, creativity goes down. That we can
Inversely proportional, you mean?
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you
Negative
plot it
sign means inversely
now this is saying
proportional.
that when you plot intelligence and IQ of one person, it is all scattered dots. It's not like this or like this. It's all over the place.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for diverting the topic.
No, that's okay, because even I need help for this. Another one, Praveen, so be attentive. I'll ask you suddenly, okay, what this means.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so factor analysis of IQ and creativity tests yield separate factors. However, so factor analysis, I don't understand that. So if you can throw a light on that. But this is, however, a creative person's IQ has been demonstrated to be at least a standard deviation above the mean, often more. So again, Praveen, correct me if I'm wrong. So a person who is creative has to be at least above the standard mean, right?
Correct.
That IQ has to be at least, let's say, above 120, right? So
Correct.
to be
That's right.
creative.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Okay. Okay.
Factorial
Guilford-
analysis is nothing but you are actually analyzing what are the factors which are influencing. So, I mean, by the term itself, you can probably guess to some extent that you are just identifying the influencing factors there. That's all you're actually doing there.
Okay. 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 Thank you. Guilford suggested a hypothesis that a minimal level of IQ, often arbitrary set of 120, should be necessary but not sufficient for creativity. Creative achievement was thought to be impossible below this threshold. So like I said, below 120, it's almost impossible to be creative if you have an IQ which is below 120, according to Guilford. Okay, so these are all again debatable, and I'm sure there's a lot of criticism and stuff like that. But yeah, this is what Guilford came to the conclusion. And okay, again, Praveen, if you can, explain this. Guilford also proposed that scatter plots of IQ and creativity should show a triangular pattern, which gave Guilford claim sometimes the triangularity hypothesis, with no data points in the low IQ, high creativity quadrant. So is there a triangle here that I'm talking about a triangle, I think. So again, after that, it's a scatter. So what I've understood is that, okay, till a certain point, IQ and creativity is, it is correlated, but beyond that, it is scattered. Beyond that, there is no relationship between the two. So is this what it means?
So basically, yeah, scattered plot is nothing but you are actually plotting the points. Okay, so triangular scatter plots, what happens is so when you put the dots, okay, so they actually you can actually plot something like a triangle. I mean, they contain, all of them contain in a triangle. So what it means is I mean, it goes like, for example, a reflection of light. So basically, it starts with a focal point, and then it goes all the way to the top. So basically, you can just draw. I mean, if you put all the points and draw boundary for that particular plots, it forms that particular triangle. That is exactly what it means.
Right. So creativity on one side, intelligence on the other. Till a point, it is that focal point or whatever, and beyond that, it just scatters because there is no. It may not be related anymore, right?
Yeah, it starts from one and then it scatters on to the top, and it forms a triangle is what I could actually make it out. And what is the conclusion that they said? Can you read that conclusion again?
What is the conclusion? I don't know what conclusion he's talking about. He's saying
okay, I think they are telling you have the negative and positive side for both creativity and IQ. With no data points, I mean, with no plots or points on the low IQ or high creativity, they form a quadrant. I think instead of triangle, they form something like a square or rectangle when the points are connected to make a plot.
Okay,
I think is that
if they are not having anything in negative, what it means is it is all starting in the positive quadrant of it. So it still has to form like a ray. For example, if you're actually I mean, if you're, for example, you are plotting something like a light which is coming from a motorcycle, let's say, if you want to draw, you will actually start from the motorcycle bulb and it will actually go like a band of ray that is going, right? So
you mean like refraction of light?
Correct. And there is nothing which is on the other side, because there is nothing as a light in the back side of that light. So that's what probably they are hinting at, saying that okay, yes, there is nothing in the negative side of it. Once it starts, it actually goes like scattered plot, which is like a ray of light going forward. They are not necessarily related, but in the back, I mean, with less intelligence, high creativity, there is nothing like which is existing on that quadrant of it.
So
I got the connection here. So according to Guilford, when the points are in your low IQ, that means the negative side of the IQ, and when the points are on the positive sides of creativity, like high creativity and low IQ, then it forms that triangular pattern.
Hmm.
In the opposite conditions, the points plotted in the opposite conditions forms the triangular pattern, is what he's telling. If you read the full sentence, Guilford.
Yeah, see, I'll just read what is written here, Praveen. Guilford also proposed that scatter plots of IQ and creativity should show a triangular pattern, which gave Guilford's claim sometimes the name triangularity hypothesis. With no data points in the low IQ, high creativity quadrant. This threshold view of creativity is so plausible that it is widely accepted through empirical tests. Yeah.
Hey,
And
you got the plot. I'll tell you about the plot. It's like whenever you talk about the plot, right? The first thing is along x-axis, the second one is along y-axis. We're talking about high IQ and high creativity. So what
Yeah.
happens in this plot is that at some point of time, IQ keeps increasing. At some point of time, we start getting creativity. So it goes high creativity also, goes like a triangle. At certain point of IQ, creativity goes down like this. So it becomes a triangle.
Mm.
IQ start going up. At some point, creativity kicks in, goes up. IQ keeps going forward, creativity comes down and becomes a triangle like this.
Mm.
Okay,
I
and
think this,
in that
oh, are
low,
you showing something, Praharsh?
yeah, you can't see my
Oh,
video.
because no, I can't see because I think Ritika has locked it on my. Can you all see Praharsh's screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, only I cannot see that.
I
Again,
also see.
You can
I
scroll down
can't
to
see.
other users, you'll be able to see. Go to the gallery view.
Yeah, now I can see others.
Yeah, I can
you can see now.
Yeah, I
Shall
can.
see.
Okay, again. So we have intelligence in x-axis, creativity in y-axis. Okay. So till x-axis, intelligence keeps up, no creativity. At some certain point, which is 120 IQ, creativity kicks in and starts to grow. So thing goes up. At some point of now, IQ goes up more and more. At some point of time, when IQ goes further up, creativity comes down, like up and down. So IQ goes this way, creativity goes up, and comes down, becomes a triangle. In this triangle, low IQ part, no creativity.
Mm.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, was able to do it.
I think this also, I think what you said, Praharsh, they also said knowledge is good. When we saw the first part of that, they said knowledge is good. You should have an idea about what others have done when you're starting to, make a creative idea or product or whatever it is. But too much knowledge can also be hampering creativity. If you have too much, then it makes you a little more rigid and inflexible.
That will be a
So-
different correlation. So that correlation will be a correlation between knowledge and creativity. This is between IQ and creativity.
Okay.
So
Okay.
definitely those
Okay.
might be connected, but those are different plots.
Yeah. No, because see, when again, I think the next point talks about the
So probably
certificate,
it looks.
bookish knowledge. Yeah.
I just tried to plot something here.
Yeah.
So I'll just try to
Krishna
show
has
it.
shared
So
something.
probably it should look like this. So there is
Mm.
absolutely nothing on this. I mean, there should be nothing on this quadrant because low intelligence, it should be nothing on this quadrant. When there is no intelligence, even creativity should not go up. So this quadrant, there should be nothing. But from here, it should actually grow like this, where it should form a triangle of this nature.
Mm.
So here in this particular quadrant, high creativity, low intelligence. I mean, if you draw this, it should actually go like this as a triangle with nothing on this side of it. Where there is no intelligence, there is no creativity which will go up.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So no intelligence means no creativity at all.
Yeah, no intelligence means no creativity. At the same time, high intelligence means it doesn't mean that they are creative.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not directly proportionate. They are not directly proportionate to one another.
I
Correct.
had a different triangle.
Can you show the triangle again, Praveen? Because according to the triangle, seems like with high. Okay, so here the moment it hits that IQ level where that creativity kicks in is where it starts rising.
Correct.
Yep.
Is that right? Eh?
But this is not going to be a right one, Praveen. Why I think so is this says at some point of intelligence, creativity just becomes zero, falls down, right?
So basically here there is no relation between intelligence and creativity because it is too scattered. It is going. So basically even if intelligence is going, creativity could be high, could be low. So there is nothing that you can actually
Okay.
correlate here, this side. But when it comes to down, when there is low intelligence, you can always say that there is less in creativity. There is a relationship in this side of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
When there is no intelligence, they can't be high in creativity.
what happened to Milna? She became very, very creative.
So, Prahash, one question here. Sorry to interrupt. In the triangle that you had shown, right? At one point of time, we said with increase in intelligence, creativity comes down. How is that? I mean, in what?
I thought the triangle is like this, like up and down. So as the person gets very intelligent, the creativity falls. Is what I thought. So triangle I thought is like this, this, and this. So creativity goes up and comes down
Comes
in the
down.
intelligence, with respect to intelligence. That's what I thought. But
Archana,
this is
also,
having a
Is
different
it
idea.
that
Yeah.
the intelligence goes up beyond a certain limit, beyond the
No,
threshold?
I just got one resource from internet. Let me just share it. Just a moment. I'm just trying to see whether I can share the screen.
Praveen, by the time you share, let Shalini speak. She
Called
was-
Oh,
triangularity.
yeah. Shalini, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just
interpreted
wondering
something.
because beyond the particular threshold, initially you do after 120 IQ score, you see that intelligence and creativity going hand in hand. But after that, intelligence keeps going up, but creativity doesn't go up in the same range. So then the correlation becomes less, is what I understand. It need not necessarily come down. I am not sure. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have spent enough time on this, right? I'll do some research and I'll come back with the proper answer on Friday or Monday.
Praveen is already showing something.
Oh, okay, okay. So sorry. I
Just
was,
see. Yeah.
okay, what are we supposed to look at? Oh, high, low. Okay, intelligence, low, 0. Okay, high. At some point of time, creativity goes up, and becomes like the one Praveen was showing. Yeah, looks like Praveen was showing the right image. My idea was not the proper one.
your explanation was proper, Prahash, but the triangle was not right. I don't know.
I mean, it's the same one, but little idea is like creativity does not fall down with IQ at any point of time. That's very important, right? I had that idea. That's the wrong one. Okay. Anybody have a question on this? This is clear to me now.
Yeah.
This is exactly what the Praveen was showing right now.
Yeah. Praveen is always right about
Yes.
statistics. Yeah.
He is our statistician.
Statistics hero. Praveen, you start taking a private coaching also, like,
I think we will need extra classes for sure.
I know, yeah. I think I'm getting a little this thing about. Okay. So, so we will just move on. Just a few more points left in this particular section. So the opposite view of Hayes proposes an alternative certification hypothesis. Okay. So which doubted the intrinsic link between creativity and intelligence. Instead, it stated that most possibilities to display a recognizable level of creativity, like occupations in architecture or science, simply requires a high level of formal education. Now, this is a totally different view to it. It says that this requires, it is got to do with formal education. Academic performance is correlated with IQ. Society simply denies creative individuals of low IQ the chance to express their talent adequately. So here it is talking about Hayes. What Hayes is saying is that you don't even give scope for creativity in the formal education. It is so dependent on the IQ, so-called IQ, that it simply denies creative individuals of low IQ the chance to express their talent. So that is what it is. So here it's talking about another view, right? So
The stereotypical parents of early 20th century or 21st century, maybe.
yeah. So there is a criticism against the TTCT, this particular test, creativity test. 4 main criticisms are: response set might influence the result. Thus, different order in presentation of items leads to different results. So here we are talking about how this test was criticized. Okay, it says that if you change the sequence of your problem or your different presentation of items, then the result of creativity will be totally different. Okay, so that is one criticism. Second criticism is creativity tests administered under different conditions lead to different performances. So if there is a different condition that the creativity test is given, it will lead to different performances. Maybe it means, I don't know if this is an appropriate example. Suppose you do it first thing in the morning, you give a creativity test to somebody and, you ask them to visualize or fantasize or write a story or imagine something. The performance will be very different from, if you give them just after a heavy meal. So maybe this is what it also means, that creativity test, you cannot say that, yeah, this person is so creative. The same person can have different results, in the test. So that is one of the criticism. Under different conditions, the test results will be different. Okay, and raters of TTCT might might differ considerably in the scores to a similar person. Okay, so that means there is no consistency. Okay, the test scores may differ for similar type of people. So you may have 2-3 people who are equally creative, but their scores may go here and there because of the way the items are sequenced. Okay, so the structure of the test itself is inadequate. So this particular test also had many criticisms saying that it's inadequate. If you change the sequence, it will give different result. If conditions change, it will be different. Similar people may have different results. So like anything else, this also has criticism. So
did we just skip measurement of creativity?
We did? Okay, one second.
Yes.
Creative thinking. Oh yeah, fluent. 1 second.
Measurement. How did we criticize TTCT even?
Oh yeah, the fluency and all that. Okay, fine. TTCT was developed in 1966 and has been, there has been a lot of changes in the norms in 1974, 84, 90, 98. Imagine these tests are fairly recent, yeah. I mean, we are in a fairly new field. Psychology is not all that old. So there are 2 forms, TTCT verbal and figural, with 2 parallel tests, form A, form B, blah, blah. Okay, so these are the different things. Okay, first one is fluency, the number of ideas, total number of relevant responses. Okay. So this test had, these are the different, didn't we go through this a little bit earlier? I think we went, when I was doing TTCT, I think I did it at that time. But anyway.
No. When we were doing aspects of...
Did we say fluency, originality, elaboration, flexibility? So the question paper itself, okay, has, it should have fluency. That means it should have a large number of ideas. Okay, it should have total number of relevant responses and all that. Okay, so each test is supposed to measure all these things. Okay, first one is fluency, that there should be a large number of ideas. It should not test on only few ideas. Second one is originality. Okay, so rarity of ideas, number of statistically influenced ideas, score is 0 if the idea is common and 1 if it is unique. So here it is talking about originality. The test should test on your originality. So if the test score is 0, it means that the idea is very common. It's nothing original about it. If it is 1, it's a unique idea. That's the scoring mechanism they're talking about. Then elaboration. Okay, it should have that capacity to add your own ideas, your own creative ideas and all that. I think in that context, we were looking at giving open-ended questions so that you're able to elaborate your new ideas and unique ideas. And flexibility. So number of categories of relevant responses. So you should be able to give there should be a large number of categories of relevant responses that you can give. So it should not be restricted to only this response. It should also enable you to give a large variety of unique responses. So these are some of the characteristics that each test should have, right? So this is what it was. Deleted the flex. Okay, in 1990, Torrance deleted the flexibility scale since it correlated highly with fluency and added 2 measures of creative potential: abstraction and resistance to premature closure. We've done these things before, but again, just to revise, it says that the test, he deleted flexibility and he added abstraction. So it should allow you to give your abstract solutions to the test should allow for abstract out of the box thinking, or things that cannot be. It's abstract, basically. That's what it means. And resistance to premature closure. So an idea should not quickly get closed. The test should be such that it should allow you to give to explore all possible solutions and ideas. And you should take it all the way forward. You should have done all sorts of evaluations and judgments to come up with that solution. So the test should allow for that flexibility also. So it should not prematurely say that, okay, with this it is concluded that you're creative. It should explore all possible ways of checking somebody's creativity. So these are the things. I mean, unless we see a test, we don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, it should have open-ended questions and all of that, which test all these things. Be it abstract thinking or thinking it to the minutest detail, to analyzing the whole thing properly, to get the right creativity index, to be original, to be able to elaborate your ideas. So that test should have all these features, right? So
I have something to add.
Yeah.
The history of measuring creativity, I don't know how it started, but there are 2 people, Houts and Krug, who review several tests developed for the creativity assessment. And out of those several things, they name 3 tests importantly in creativity measurement. Those are this TTCT is one of the main. The second one is Wallach and Kogan test. The third one is the Guilford battery. So these 3 tests are prominent or maybe more appropriate in measuring the creativity. And later, so in 1998, that the year I was born, they included, I think AP or something, included the age and grade related norms, and I think a proper manual for teaching and guiding the creativity tests. So that's something that I want to add.
Right. That's right. I do remember reading that somewhere.
You just skipped it, Seema.
I think I skipped a whole slide in between. I just added it. Yeah. Thank you for adding that. Yeah. So that's also something that, it'll be nice if we can get hold of some of these tests, or maybe during our practicals. I think I'm told that we'll be doing personality tests on one another and things like that. I'm hoping that such kind of creative, at least we get to see the questionnaire. I do remember seeing one creativity test where, it was like that, complete the story, or, something like that. Maybe, I don't know if it was any of these 3 tests that they're talking about, but yeah, that gave you a lot of scope to, in fact, even in the, when you're talking about, the education system, they have added in some of these elements of creativity in terms of write a story, about this, or they've started giving questions like, you meet an alien and how is the conversation going to be, or they show you a picture and say, okay, complete this, make a story, create a story looking at this picture. So all those are in, they are probably the small c, not the big C, but yeah, those are also ways in which you are inculcating creativity at a school level. So those are some tests, but yeah, at a what these psychologists have done, those are also pretty open-ended questions which which test the appropriate creativity in you through all these components, right? And yeah, so this is about it. Premature closure test can be administered in around 30 minutes, but the process of scoring requires some training and specific country norms. So these tests, again, they do have a global acceptance, but actually it takes about 30 minutes to administer these tests. So that is easier. It actually takes 30 minutes to add, but the process of scoring takes different types of, you should also be trained in scoring for these tests. So you cannot just simply not know what you are, even to imagine, come to think of it, you're giving a creativity test, you're giving all sorts of open-ended answers or whatever like that, but the person who is actually giving you the scores, the one who's actually correcting your paper, it also, I think it could also be very subjective depending on how that panel of people find it creative enough. But yeah, that administration, the test giving part takes only 30 minutes, but scoring it takes far more time, and also again it depends from country to country, the norms and things like that, how they look at it. So these are some of the things which came out of this test. 1998 manual provides norms for United States and includes both grade rated and age related norms. Yeah. So again, I think there are manuals which are created to even, not only administer the test, but also to help you to score these tests. So it is age related, it is grade related, and so on and so forth. Thus, there are some countries specifically in measurement of creativity. Kim reported some normative measures in other countries. These norms have usually been developed for research activities. So yeah, so norms and all are mainly for research. And I again took you through the criticism that, response will be different, conditions are different, so result will be different. And, structure of the test itself is inadequate. So tests were created to test the creativity. But even creating those tests can be quite challenging, I'm sure, because how do you test people's creativity, and how do you and the easiest part probably is to administer a test, but again scoring is the challenging part. And so people do have their views on the accuracy of these tests, that
Yeah, it's almost close to impossible to actually know
yeah.
the extent of creativity of any person.
Correct. So that is one thing, unless it is for all to see, there is something which is, totally out of the world, which, something absolutely new and revolutionary that has come out. That also takes time, because again, to test it, verify it.
But practically it's very easily measurable, because we do that all the time. For example, when we hire a new UX designer, we had to interview 5 people and we had to kind of measure it, right? Even though if it's the limits are boundless, but still practically we should be able to compare them. We are easily able to do it.
What is that, Prahash? What are you talking about? Your products?
If you want kind of a, let's say, architect for your new house, if you talk to 5 architects, you are always able to compare them, right? Without much skill.
Correct.
Of course, the creativity might be having boundless, upper limit, but you still can compare them.
You can, but again, when you're talking about, interior design and things like that, I mean, if a house, again, it depends from person to person. So I may be somebody who likes pastel colors, and so suppose I'm the judge, I'm judging 5 architects or 5 interior designers.
No, it doesn't depend from person to person. If you actually are looking for a design, you want everyone to love your house. That's why we are going for the design, and you have a limit of patterns in your mind, which appeals to everyone.
Prahash, also,
Prahash, it's difficult for everybody to like it. Some may have a very, some may have very
I agree
You
with
know,
that. That's why all that class architects also gets hired. No question in that. But the comparison and measurement is possible.
yeah, yeah, but at a general level, look at movies, for example. You know, why are some movies a hit? You know, some of the flop movies, when you look at them later on, you feel that, oh my god, this is such a outstanding movie. I don't know why it flopped, why people did not like it, why the masses did not like it, but to you it may be really a very, very creative piece of art. So including many of these Sanjay Leela, Bansaliwala, look at the sets and look at all that. They make it because they think that it's going to be a huge, huge success, but ultimately it doesn't turn out to be like that. So all their creativity also goes for a toss, you know, when people come to the cinema hall and view it and just write it off. So creativity is very, I mean, in other words, creativity is very personal also, you know. But at the same time, yeah, if it is had if it has that little mass appeal or more people, that is why that convincing was also one of the things that you have
Where
to
did
do.
you, okay, we spent like 2 days on it. Where did you see that creativity is personal? It's measurable. If something is measurable, that's not personal at all. That's why we learned already, right? You are
Praharsh,
taking,
theoretically, yes, it is measurable.
Yeah,
But,
practically, yeah.
practically, you cannot actually get the, the fullness of the creativity of a person.
Mm.
You
okay,
can
you
measure.
cannot, you replace the creativity with knowledge in maths, and I can say the same thing is true for that also.
See, in math, it is you have one answer for one question only. So that's why you can measure your mathematical creativity if you are speaking in that sense.
Very true.
But actually, if you're taking something in arts, mostly creativity is related to arts. At least our mindset is like that.
I can give you so many mathematical problems which does not have one particular solution. There are many of them.
See that again, yeah. So maths is people, I feel,
The crux of that is it is measurable theoretically. If it is theoretically measurable, that means it is
extent,
practically
to
measurable.
some
That is
extent,
one
that's
of the
what they're saying,
solutions.
and that's why all these TET, CT tests and all that, they have come out with tools to measure it. But
Yeah,
creativity is one thing which it's
Endlessly measurable.
that's
it's,
what
it's
that is my
Have
contention.
we,
That people start going with the theory which is actually scientifically proven, and people are doing it all the time. But still, we have something in our mind that this is something ajuba that cannot be measured. That's not the case. It can be measured.
Yes, Praharsh, I'll tell you one thing. You measure only what you intend to measure. You think creativity is a set of these things, and you are preparing questions to measure only those things that you think creativity is.
No. That's not how it is.
At
A
least
set of
so
questions
far,
can
if
indicate. They can be
go on.
indicative of what the extent person can go to, right? I don't know. See, again, I'm not an expert in the subject. My
he has to
concern is
have
that
the
we learned
last.
that it's measurable and we're saying it's not measurable. That kind of beats me up.
No,
Okay.
we agree that it is measurable, but we're just telling you cannot exactly measure the that high, the infinity, or
Nothing in what we are learning can be exactly measured. We always go with the statistics. Anything. This is statistical science. It's not a numerical science.
Psychology, yeah, that's why ultimately net. By the way, we are done with the we've done with
Yeah,
this
today is
portion.
Friday.
We start with problem solving, but yeah.